Now come to this particular question with respect to salary and some other general discussion. Now see, in first situation, discuss whether the following are taxable or not taxable. Okay, in situation 1, X Limited is a foreign company, 10 shareholders, and you are shooting a feature film in Kerala, will be exhibited in UK. However, Kerala government has the power to telecast this movie in free of charge. Okay, now the activity, if there is an activity only which relates to the shooting of cinematography of films, it is no income will be deemed to occur or arise in India. Section 9 provision, it is subjected to condition, assuming that particular conditions are satisfied. Okay. See, in fact, which I told you in the explanation to section 9 and all that, where the variety of exclusions are there. See, section 9, incomes which are deemed to occur or arise in India. Non-resident, if there is any activity of individual, firm, company, operation confined to only cinematography or film in India. Okay, provided that you should be not citizen. Any partner should not be, if it is a firm, none of the partners should be citizen or resident. If it is a company, none of the shareholders should be citizen or resident. If these conditions are satisfied, then activity of shooting, no income will be deemed to occur or arise in India. Okay, so here all the conditions, I guess, that are already satisfied, and 10 shareholders, all of them are non-resident and non-citizen. Okay, so all basic conditions satisfied. So this particular income, nothing will be taxable in India. Okay, so this will be not taxable in India. Okay, first point. Second point, X is a foreign citizen. Now this particular foreign citizen, he has got some shares transaction, and his transaction is with respect to some Indian companies, X quantities, and his long-term capital gains is 95 lakhs. Okay, so whenever there is any shares of Indian company, the shares of Indian company is always an asset inside India, and you have entered into these transfer agreements, signed a document, delivered the share certificate if it is in the physical form, and you have done this contract also outside India, payment also outside India, everything outside India, but the shares are of Indian company, and therefore it will always be deemed to occur or arise in India, because shares of Indian company is always an asset inside India. Okay, and therefore it will be deemed to occur or arise in India, and this particular money will be taxable in India, and this particular money will be taxable in India irrespective of your residential status. Now see, in the given situation, he comes on a visit, is a foreign citizen, but he's a person of Indian origin. He comes on a visit to India, 150 days. Okay, so because he is a person of Indian origin, 120 days tax will be applicable. His Indian income is exceeding 15 lakhs of rupees, because it is anyway 95 lakhs of rupees. So this gentleman will become not ordinarily resident, but whatever is your residential status in the given situation, it will be taxable, because income is only deemed to occur or arise in India, and therefore the entire income 95 lakhs will be taxable in India. But residential status, I just brought to your notice as a matter of attention. Okay, so this is done, this is done. Okay, now the third situation, X is a citizen of UK, non-resident in India. He employed by Indian High Commissioner in UK. Okay, so this particular gentleman is in the foreign country. Okay, he is rendering the services again in the foreign country, but Indian High Commission is paying him that particular salary. Okay, so for that, the doubt will come into picture. The Indian government is paying that particular salary to that particular gentleman. Okay, so first of all, it is a government which is paying salary. He is a citizen of UK. He is a non-resident in India. Okay, so first of all, let us see that particular provisions. Okay, section 9, 2, 3, 1 second. Yeah, here 2. Okay, now the payment is made by the government of India. Okay, so income chargeable under salary payable by the government to the citizens of India for the services outside India. Okay, so if it is paid by the government of India to the citizens of India, government to the citizens of India, only then it is deemed to occur or arise in India. Okay, so in the given situation, this particular clause will not apply. It will not apply. Why? Because it is paid by government to a non-citizen. Okay, so for that, our general purpose provisions will be applicable whether you have rendered the services in India. So salary, if rendered in India, okay, if services are rendered in India, then we could have thought differently. But in the given situation, it is a payment made by the government to the non-citizens. Okay, and therefore this particular salary will not be taxable in India. Okay, so first of all, because services are outside India, it is not taxable in India. Okay, because it is not accruing in India, nor it is receiving in India. Okay, so it is not taxable in India. Okay, now so that's the end of that first part of the answer. Okay, now does it make any difference if X, just make a correction here, it should be X, does it make any difference if he is an Indian citizen? Okay, now if he becomes an Indian citizen, okay, so government is paying to the Indian citizen. Now if that is the situation, okay, then this particular clause will be straight away applicable. See this particular clause: income, salary paid by the government to the citizens of India. Okay, then this particular salary will become taxable in India. There is no doubt about that. Okay, so if it is paid to the Indian citizens, paid by the government, then this clause will be applicable. See, actually it is services outside India only, rendered outside India, but this is a deemed to accrue or arise in India, and therefore it will be taxable in India. Full stop. However, okay, see, if there is any allowance or if there is any perquisite, that is not taxable. In fact, that is given an exemption under section 10. Okay, so only the salary is taxable here, and that exemption provision I will show you here. See, section 10(7), allowance or perquisite outside India by government to the citizens. Allowance or perquisite by the government to the citizens of India for rendering services outside India. So you are rendering services outside India, but allowance and perquisites are exempt under this particular provision, and so that particular point, that we will say that it will be exempt. Allowance and perquisite will not be taxable, or if you want to write exempt, it will be exempt, whatever way that you want to write in this particular situation. Okay, now one more extra clarification that I will give, that in the first situation, when it is services rendered outside India, that means it is paid to non-citizens. X, who is not citizen, that is citizen of UK and non-resident. Okay, so if the government is paying it to the non-citizens, it is not accruing in India, so it is not taxable in India in the first situation. Okay, so even allowance, perquisite, everything will not be taxable, because all the services were rendered outside India and everything is outside India, received also outside India, so it will not be taxable even with respect to allowance and perquisites in that particular situation. Now friends, come to this particular question number 2. Now in this particular, X is a non-resident, during the previous year is posted in Indian Embassy as Washington. So he is a non-resident and he is posted in Indian Embassy, that means overseas employment. Okay, he is getting following salary, allowance and all that. Okay, above remuneration perquisite is provided at Washington, that means the services are rendered outside India. This is what it is trying to say. Find out the taxable income in the hands of X in India if X is a foreign citizen. Okay, but I will answer it both the ways, whether it is an Indian citizen or a foreign citizen. Okay, so first of all I will answer as if it is a Indian citizen. Okay, so actually question is not asking that way, but I will just do it like that. Okay, now see, if there is any income chargeable under the head salaries payable by government to the citizens of India for the services outside India. Okay, so any salary by the government to the citizens of India for the services outside India, then it is deemed to accrue or rise in India. Okay, actually it is services outside India only, that means actually it is not accrued in India, but it will be deemed to be accrue or rise in India. The salary will be taxable in India. Okay, but what about the allowance or the perquisites? Allowance or the perquisites will not be taxable because it is given an exemption under section 10. Under section 10 subclause 7, okay, allowance or perquisite paid outside India by the government to the citizens of India for rendering services outside India. So rendering service outside India, any allowance, any perquisite will not be taxable in India. So if you are a citizen of India, first of all, expenditure incurred as such is not very much relevant. What is relevant is value taxable in the hands of the employees. Okay, so salary will be taxable if you are a citizen of India. Okay, however, allowance and perquisites, not a single figure, will become taxable. Is that absolutely clear? Okay. Now, when it comes to the foreign citizen, okay. Now, if he is a foreign citizen, now the moment you say that this is a foreign citizen, 1 second, I will erase this so that things becomes very, very clear. Okay. If he is, let me erase all these things. See, he is a foreign citizen now. Okay, then first of all, this particular clause deemed to occur or arise in India will not be applicable, because this clause will come only if the salaries is paid by government to the citizens of India. Okay, so if the government is paying to a non-citizen for the services outside India, no question of this particular deeming fiction coming into picture. Okay. At the same time, general purpose concept of subclause 2 will be applicable, that salaries will be, if it is earned in India, then it will be deemed to occur as India. Earned in India means services should have been rendered in India. So in the given situation, the services are not rendered in India because he is working in Washington. Okay. So, see, it is all remuneration is paid or perquisites are provided at Washington. That means the entire services are provided in Washington, and he is not even a citizen of India. So it is accrued outside India, and it is received also outside India, and deemed to occur or arise concept is not applicable. Why? Because it is paid to a non-citizen now. Okay. So this salary will not be taxable. Is that okay? And when the salary is not taxable because he is providing service outside India, all the perquisites are also provided outside India. See, perquisites are also provided outside India. So the salary is also outside. That means services is also outside. Okay. And perquisites are also outside. Okay. And since both of them are outside India, it becomes a foreign income. So service is also rendered outside India and perquisite also outside India. Okay. And therefore it becomes a foreign income. So it is not taxable. It is not taxable in this particular situation, because anyway he is a non-resident in this particular situation, and therefore not a single rupee will be taxable if he is a foreign citizen in this particular situation. Now this particular question X is an Indian citizen and he is in Indian Foreign Service. Up to April he was posted in Delhi. That means in the month of April he is providing his services inside India, and from May till the month of the March he is providing his services outside India. Okay. So for the month of April, whatever the salary, allowance, perquisite, everything will become taxable because he was providing his services inside India only. Okay. And he is already citizen of India. It is already given to us. Okay. However, for the period May to March, where he is outside India, for that he will be chargeable to tax only for the salary income. Okay. Allowance and the perquisite will be fully exempt. Okay. As per section 10(7). Okay. Now first of all, friends, see section 9. Okay. He is a citizen of India. So this is a repetition, but I will do that. Citizen of India under the head salary payable by government for the services outside India. Okay. So because it is paid by the government of India, services are outside India, but it will be deemed to occur as in India. It will be taxable in India, but only the salary is taxable. Allowance and perquisites are not taxable. That exemption is provided under section 10(7). 10(7). Yeah. See, under these particular provisions, allowance or perquisites, all the allowances or perquisite paid outside India by the government to the citizen of India for rendering the services outside India. So rendering service outside India but paid by the government, allowance and perquisites fully exempt under these particular provisions. Okay. So ultimately in this particular question, we will have to break it up for the month of April. Okay. And of course, I will not focus on the salary aspect of this particular computation. Only the international taxation I will focus. Okay. So I will break it up April. Okay. And May to March. Okay. This is how I will break it up. Okay. Now, basic salary per month is April, 90,000 will become taxable. May to March, this will be taxable. So 9,90,000 will become taxable. Grade pay, this grade pay is basically like a basic salary only. So 10,000 will be taxable and 1,10,000 will be taxable. So grade pay is as good as a basic salary. Okay. So this is done. Now, overseas allowance. When it comes to the overseas allowance, for March to April, nothing will be taxable. Okay, so no need to do any such computation. Car, driver and whatever, nothing. From May to March, nothing will be taxable. Okay, this also figure, nothing will be taxable. Okay, now straight away come to the month of April only. Now month of the April, the car, driver 1800cc and owned by the government, entire expenditure also owned by the government. So this particular figure as per the perquisite with respect to the motor car will be covered, and you will have to offer it to tax. So this will be taxable, but as per the perquisite valuation. Okay, rent-free house in Delhi owned by the government. Now it is a rent-free house, and therefore it is a government employment. So as per the valuation of the rent-free accommodation, this particular money will be taxable. Not that 4,000, but the amount which will be taxable will be as per the valuation as per the salary chapter. Okay. Now expenditure incurred by government maintenance and the license fee is 3% of the salary. So this particular license fees is something what is taxable. Okay. Now that is okay. Now rent-free house in London, so anyway that is not subject matter of any taxation whatsoever. Okay. Now daughter of X is a student, London School Economics last 2 years. The government of India bears the entire expenditure, which is to approximately comes to 55,000 per month. Okay, so this is something which is education expense of the daughter, that is the employer's obligation met by the employer, the government. So this 55,000 will be taxable, but it will be taxable only for the month of April. Okay, that means for the month of May to March, any allowance, any perquisite, okay, is no question of any taxation coming into picture. So this 55,000 plus we will offer it to tax. Okay, then find out the net income of the taken the following information. Assume salary is paid by government on the last day of the each month. It is paid by the government on the last day of the each month. Okay, so this doesn't matter. Basically this last day of the month is basically salary is taxable on the due or receipt basis, whichever is earlier. So on that particular point, but in the international taxation, this question, it is not a great focus and no such complicated issue. Okay, so the update your answer fully now. Take the totals. Now come to friends this particular question. Mr. X, 50 years, American citizen, employed by a limited. Now in this particular situation, it is he comes to India for a visit of 120 days. Now first of all friends, in the given situation, it is not given to me that he is a person of Indian origin. I think nowhere that particular data has been given that is a person of Indian origin. So I will also assume that he is not a person of Indian origin. Okay, so otherwise that if I assume that he is a person of Indian origin, then 120 days test for the residential status where the Indian income is more than the 50 lakhs of rupees, that particular test will be applicable. But I am taking the view that he is not a person of Indian origin. Now he comes on India on a visit of 120 days every year. Okay, if he comes on a 120 days visit every year, then he is going to become resident and ordinary resident. Okay, see, because 60 days test and 365 days test. So the 60 days test will be satisfied. Okay, and 365 days test in 4 years preceding the previous year. So it's going to be 120 days every year. No, so past 4 years is going to be 480 days. So he's going to become resident, and similarly is going to become resident even in the earlier years, and past 7 years total 120 into 7. Okay, that is also going to be not less than or equal to 729 days. That means it is going to be more than or equal to 730 days, and therefore you are going to become resident and ordinarily resident. Okay, so if that is the situation, and even for all the years even preceding is going to be resident only, so it's going to become resident and ordinarily resident if it is 120 days every day. However, alternatively, if he is coming to India only for last 5 years and before 5 years he was never coming to India, then he is going to become a resident first of all, because 120 days he is coming. So in the previous year he will become a resident because 60 days test and 365 days test. So that is going to satisfy. Okay. However, since past 5 years only is coming, so last 7 years total is going to be only 120 into 5, that is 600 days, and which is going to be less than equal to 729 days, and that's the reason he is going to become resident but not ordinarily resident. Okay, so accordingly, either of the two residential status is possible in the given question: resident and ordinarily resident, or resident but not ordinarily resident. Okay, now that's all. Okay. Supposing if you say in this particular question he is a person of Indian origin. Now actually it is not required, but only the extra discussion I am doing. Supposing if you say that he is a person of Indian origin, then 120 days test will be straight away applicable. Okay, during the previous year, if your Indian income exceeds the amount of 15 lakhs of rupees, so then we have to do the computation. Okay, and having done the computation, we will apply the test and check whether he is a person of Indian origin. He is a resident or not ordinarily resident. Okay, so that particular resident and not ordinarily resident, that particular test that we will check. Okay, but that we can check only after we can do the computation, if you assume that he is a person of Indian origin. Okay, now you see, fair enough. Now first of all, two possibilities are open right now: resident and ordinarily resident, and not ordinarily resident. Okay, now see, first of all, in the given situation, he has got a salary also some outside India. Okay, and he comes on 120 days visit to India, so that means 4 months he is inside India, 8 months he is outside India. That way I will just provide, that means 4 months is rendering services in India, 8 months is rendering services outside India. That is one thing. Okay, now he has also got all these perquisites and all that, car, hotel accommodation and all that. Okay, now before I go ahead and take up the discussion, I want to clarify one concept to you, and that particular concept is this way. See, you have a salary, you have perquisites, etc. Okay, supposing salary is you are providing services inside India. Okay, but for the period you are providing services inside India, there is a possibility that the perquisite that you are getting is also inside India, or you are getting perquisite outside India. Possible. That means services you are rendering inside India, but there is a possibility that the perquisite you are getting inside India and outside India also. Either of the possibilities are open. Is that very much clear? Okay. At the same point in time, let's say for example the salary, that means you are providing services outside India, but the perquisite even for that period is either inside India or outside India. Are you getting what I am trying to say? In other words, there is a combinations which are possible. There is a combinations which are possible that perquisite inside India, outside India for the period when the services are inside India, outside India. Now, for example, you are for few months inside India and few months outside India. Now, company has given you one house which is in, say for example, Dubai, and one house in India. So, throughout the period, you have one house which is in Dubai, and throughout the period, you have one house in India. Okay. However, 8 months services are inside India, and 4 months services are outside India, or vice versa. Okay, so all the possibilities are open. Now in this particular situation, you better keep one thing very carefully, that if anything is inside India, if perquisite is inside India, or salary is inside India, okay, if any one thing is inside India, you will be chargeable to tax in India. It will be deemed to accrue or arise in India. In other words, put it differently, that where the services are outside India and even the perquisites are outside India, only then it will be as good as regarded as a foreign income. I repeat, it will be a foreign income where the perquisites are also outside India and the salary, that means the services, also rendered outside India for that particular period. Is that very much clear? And only then you will have the foreign incomes. Okay, so that particular concept will be very much helpful in this particular question. Okay, so first of all, we will do the computation: resident and ordinarily resident, resident but not ordinarily resident. Okay, now see, salary for rendering services outside India, and it is received outside. Salary for services outside India, received also outside India. Okay, So 11,57,000 will be taxable. Resident and ordinary resident will be taxable for the global taxation, but not ordinarily resident will not be taxable. Okay. Then salary for rendering services inside India. Okay. And received inside India. So that 4 months, 4 months you are coming to India. So 4,15,000 will be taxable to resident, ordinary resident. Not ordinary resident will also be taxable for this 4,15,000 rupees. Okay. Further, a rent-free house owned by the company in Dubai throughout the previous year. Now see, 4 months you are providing services inside India, but for the same to same 4 months, you have a house in Dubai. Okay, so that particular figure will also be coming into account for this particular calculation. The 4 months services are inside India, but the perquisite is outside India. Okay. Now see, when it is resident and ordinarily resident, then though it's a global taxation. So there is no doubt about it. So you just have to say perquisite valuation is 15% of the salary. So that comes to 2,35,800. Okay. But when it comes to a not ordinarily resident, since the given situation, whatever is the service period, which is 4 months, that is inside India. Okay, because you have provided services inside India. So perquisite for that period, whether it is outside India, but it will be taxable in India. In other words, it will be a foreign income only if services also you rendered outside India and perquisite also outside India. Only then it will be a foreign income. If any one thing is inside India, it will be taxable in India. So same thing, 62,250, it is 15% of that appropriate salary. Okay. Now hotel accommodation in India for 120 days every year when he comes to India. So naturally this is perquisite inside India only. So this will be taxable in India. So hotel accommodation valuation is some 24%. So that is 99,600. You can keep on updating in a very, very fair manner. So it is 99,600, that is 24% of the salary as per the perquisite valuation, 99,600. Okay. The car of 2,000 cc along with the driver is provided in Dubai for X and his family member throughout the previous year. Now this car is also throughout the period of previous year. Okay. So if you are resident and ordinarily resident, then anyway you are liable for a global taxation. Okay. And so for that though, even 8 months and even the 4 months. Okay. So first of all, let me take up that particular valuation. Okay. Car is in Dubai. This car can be used for office and private purposes. However, during the stay of X in India, the car is used by family members for the personal purpose. So here you have to do that particular valuation very much properly. Total expenditure excluding the normal wear and tear of the car, the company in respect of the car is approximately rupees 15,000 per month. Car was purchased for this much 4 years back. Okay. So first of all, let's do 8 months and let me erase this. Okay. 8 months and 4 months. Okay. Now 8 months you are already outside India. Okay. Only 4 months you are inside India. So whatever you are outside India, if you are providing your services inside India and you are getting perquisite outside India. Okay. So for the 4 months, these particular perquisites will be taxable in India because you are already providing services inside India. So since 4 months you are providing services inside India, it will be taxable in both the situation. Absolutely clear, because services are provided inside India. Now perquisite wherever you are getting it. Okay. Now for the 8 months you are providing services outside India. Okay. And the perquisites are also outside India. Okay. So if you are not ordinarily resident, it will not be taxable. Okay. But because if you are resident and ordinarily resident in India, you are liable for global taxation. You will be chargeable for the entire taxation for the 8 months. You will be taxable here. Now valuation we will have to do. So I once again repeat that if you are providing services inside India, okay, then you are always taxable. no matter where the perquisite is. Okay, but if you are providing services outside India and perquisites are also outside India, that means both the things outside India, services also outside India and perquisites also outside India, then not ordinarily resident will be regarded as a foreign income. But if you are ordinarily resident and ordinarily resident, you will be chargeable for the global taxation. Okay, so for 8 months, we will just do that particular valuation as per our what should I say, valuation rules is 2,400 plus 900 for 8 months. It is 26,400 for 8 months, and for 4 months we will have to consider the fully personal, because 4 months when you are inside India, you are using it fully personal, no, because when you are only inside India, how you are Dubai, you are using it for business purpose. That means it is fully personal use for the period of 4 months. So whatever is the actual cost, that has to be considered. Okay, so your 15,000 rupees per month for 4 months, and appropriate depreciation, that is 10%, cost is 50,000 and conversion rate was 37. You have to make it as 4 by 12. This is for the entire period, so you have to make it as 4 by 12. Okay, just do the calculation. I'm getting some 121,667, 121,667. Okay, that will be taxable in both the situation. Okay, so that is done. Now another car was 1200cc provided in Delhi. So this is your perquisite provided inside India. Entire expenditure including salary of driver is made by the company, which comes approximately 12,000 per month. This car can be used for office and personal purposes. Okay, now car which is in Delhi, services which are provided inside India, only for that much of period it has been provided. So 4 months, okay, it will be chargeable to tax, and it will be chargeable to tax in both the situation. Resident and ordinary resident will anyway chargeable global taxation, so for him so it will be taxable, and not ordinarily resident also, because this particular pertains to the period when the services are inside India, so it will be chargeable to tax in India. So it will be 4 months into, because it is 1200cc, just check 1800 into 900, or you can just, but this is not a salary computation, so total is some 10,800 taxable in both the cases. Okay, 10,800 taxable in both the cases. Okay, point number 5. Daughter of ex-student in Delhi School of Economics, during the entire cost of education per annum is met by the employer. Now this is 1,35,000, which is our daughter's education. Now see, in this particular situation, the entire amount of 1,35,000 will be chargeable to tax in India. Understand that. See, he is providing his services from inside India also and from outside India also. But this particular daughter is studying in Delhi School of Economics. That means this perquisites already provided inside India, because she is studying in India. Okay, and that is the reason. Wherever your services are, but perquisites are inside India, so it will be taxable in India. So I once again repeat that salary also outside India, that means services also rendered outside India, and perquisite also outside India. Only then it will become a foreign income. If anyone is inside India, it will become Indian income. Okay, so entire 1,35,000 will become taxable in both the situations. Okay, point number 6. Son of X is a student in Netherlands. Now the student in Netherlands, cost of education including hostel charges, which comes to approximately 10,000 per month, is met by the employer company. Now in this particular situation, perquisites are outside India, and 8 months salary is also outside India. So if 8 months salary is outside India, perquisites also outside India, that will be a foreign income. But 4 months for which you are providing services inside India, but the perquisites are outside India, but that will be Indian income, because if salary, services, or if the perquisite, if anyone is inside India, it will become Indian income. Keep that in mind. Okay, so not ordinarily resident, 10,000 per month, no, so 4 months, 40,000 will become taxable in India, and resident and ordinary resident anyway for the global taxation will be taxable, but the balance 8 months also he will be taxable in India if he is a resident and ordinarily resident. Okay, however, for not ordinarily resident, it will not be taxable. Okay. Now you can just take the total in this particular situation. Okay. I think the income is somewhere about some 8 lakhs and 84, some odd figure I'm getting. Just check the total. Okay. Now see, supposing if this particular person was a person of Indian origin, because 15 lakhs Indian income, now we want to do that computation. Okay. So if he was a person of Indian origin, 120 days he is staying in India. So we want to know his Indian income. Okay. So see the Indian income of this particular gentleman. That means as if he is a resident and not ordinarily resident. All the Indian incomes are chargeable to tax in this particular situation. So total is some 8 lakhs or something like that. Okay. So your Indian income is not exceeding the 15 lakhs of rupees. Okay. Your Indian income is not crossing 15 lakhs of rupees. You're not crossing that particular limit. And therefore, even if you are a person of Indian origin, you will be regarded as not a resident. Now come to this particular question. Mr. X, a foreign citizen, he comes to India for the first time on June 1. The moment he comes to India for the first time on June 1, and that means earlier years he was never present in India. Okay, and his status about his person of Indian origin is not given to us. So in the given situation, I will say that he is not a person of Indian origin. Okay, and his stay in India is, he comes on June 1 to November 2. Okay, this is his number of days stay in India. Okay, and this is totally coming to some 155 days stay in India. Okay, and he is not even a person of Indian origin. And in the given situation, 60 days test and 4 years preceding previous 365 days test. Now 4 years preceding 365 days test will never be satisfied because he is coming to India for the first time. That means in the earlier years he was never present in India, and therefore he is going to become a non-resident. Okay. So his residential status is non-resident first of all. That means he will be chargeable to tax only for the Indian incomes. Okay. Now he started his job on 1st June and he works up to 31st October. So June, July, August, September, October. Okay, 5 months he is in working. Okay. Then from 1st of November to 2nd November, that means those 2 days he is not working. Okay. That means the salary for the period when he is rendered his services inside India, that is for 5 months, will be chargeable to tax in India. Okay. That is second clarification. Now, this is a beautiful question on taxation with respect to the exchange rate conversion and all that. Now, all the data which is given to you is basic pay per month 18,500, education allowance in foreign currency. This is all foreign currency. Entertainment allowance per month, that is in the foreign. This is all foreign currency data given to me. Car with driver official purpose per month expenditure is again given to me in the foreign currency. So ultimately, see, what I have to do is I have to convert my foreign currency first of all into Indian rupees. And for that reason, this is one of the rule. First of all, rule number 115. Wherever there is a foreign currency transaction given, you have to convert it into Indian rupees, because ultimately the taxation in India will be in Indian rupees only. So, first of all, for the purpose of calculation of income, okay, telegraphic buying rate will have to be taken. Okay, and telegraphic buying rate will be taken in respect of all different types of income. But right now we are talking about salary income, so it is covered by subclause A. So you have to take the telegraphic buying rate on the last day of the month immediately preceding the month in which it is due, or it is paid in advance, or in arrears. Okay. Now in the given question, it is nothing like advance salary paid or something like that. So this situation will not come. In the given question, it is not even something paid in arrears. So that also situation will not come. So last day of the immediately preceding month in which it is due. Okay. Now I'll give you an example. Supposing the month of April salary. Okay. Month of April, it falls due on 1st of May. Okay, say for example, however, when does the salary fall due? It is also subjected to the contractual obligation. I repeat, it is also subjected to the contractual obligations. But this is a routine thing where nothing has been provided to us. Now, salary for the month of April falling due on 1st of May. Okay, so exchange rate you will take on which date? Okay, so exchange rate you will take on the last day of the month, immediately preceding the month in which it is due. So it is due in the month of May. So which is the preceding month? April. Okay, immediately preceding month April. That means 30th of April exchange rate you will take. So logically, if it is a salary for the month of April, logically, okay, the last day of that particular month TT buying rate, you will take it for the purpose of conversion. However, when does this particular salary falls due? I once again repeat, it is subjected to the contractual obligations, and the question should categorically tell us. Okay, but if question not tell us, then you have to write a note for that. Okay, so first of all, see in the question we have some data associated with this. See, salary is paid on the last day of each month. Salary is paid on last day of the each month, but this particular question does not tell me when does the salary fall due. When does the salary fall due? That is not given to me. So it creates a little bit of a confusion in my mind. It creates a little bit of a confusion in my mind that since categorically it is not mentioned. So what confusion that I can have, that also I will tell you. Salary is paid on the last day of each month. I cannot take this particular salary as an advance salary, because then in this particular case you will see the rule, or it is paid in advance, or it is paid in advance. Okay, so this will create a problem for me. Okay, so I'll have to write a caveat in this particular question. Okay, and I'll have to write this particular clear note, a beautiful note that will be required. Okay, that I assume that the salary is falling due for the month on the 1st of the next month, and that is the reason the TT rate which I will take it, which is on the last day of 30th of June. So I will say like this. See, it is coming in month of June. Okay, so it is due on 1st of July. Okay, so last day of the preceding month. So it is falling due in the month of July. So it is preceding month is a June. So exchange rate on 30th of June, that will be the last day of that particular month. Exchange rate I will take it as relevant. This is on a note. This is on a note. And if you don't take this particular note, then what can be the another problem? That also I will tell you. Supposing if you say that this particular month's salary, if you say this particular month's salary, it is paid on the last day of the each month. Okay, so June, it is paid on June 30th. Okay, if you say that this June 30th is the date when it falls due, or if you say that it is on 30th of June, it is paid in advance, although it is falling due on the 1st of August. Okay, so I have to go to the preceding month, that is May. Okay, and on the last day of the month of May, exchange rate I'll have to consider. On the last day of the month of May, exchange rate I'll have to consider, because I am believing that this is paid in advance on 30th of June, last day of each month. And if you see the exchange rate, the month of May exchange rate is not given to me at all anywhere in the question. Problem. I understood that, and that is the reason it is better to assume in the given question that it falls due in the next month, and therefore for the month of June I will consider the exchange rate relevant, which is a buying rate. Selling rate will not be relevant, so it is only the buying rate that will be relevant. Or for the month of salary, June 30th, exchange rate will be relevant. Is that absolutely clear? Okay, so let's straight away proceed to do the computation, and you have to take the buying rate that I have already explained that to you. Okay, 1 second, let me erase. You have to first of all make a table. Okay, See, month of June, how will that particular table look like? Month of June, you have basic, education allowance and entertainment allowance. Okay, basic, education allowance and the entertainment allowance. Okay, basic is how much? 18,500. This is 350 and entertainment is 1,000. Okay. So for the month of June, I'll consider the exchange rate relevant, which is a buying rate, that is 44. So multiplied with 44, 44 multiplied with 44. Like this I'll have to take. Then for the month of July, I will have to multiply with rate of 43, 43, 43. Amount will remain the same because that is not changing. 18,500, 350 for education and 1,000 for entertainment. Like this I have to make one table. So June, July, August, September, October. So 5 months total I will get basic, education and entertainment. Okay. Again, for the education allowance, exemption is there with respect to 2 child. I think he has got some childrens and all that. Employer provides, his children are studying in USA, son and daughter. So it's going to be 100 rupees per child, 2 child and 5 months. So it's going to be 1,000 rupees exemption towards the education allowance. Okay. That is already completed. Okay. So now I have already got my basic salary, education, entertainment. Okay. And education allowance exemption I have already considered. Okay. Now let's go to the car. 2,400 cc is provided for official and private purpose per month with driver, official and private purpose. So for that you just have to do the valuation based on 2,400 cc. So it is going to be 2,400 rupees per month with driver. Okay, so and multiplied by 5 months. Okay, this is the valuation of the perquisite. You will just multiply. Now the further part. Now see, in this particular situation, he has got some accommodation. Besides above, the employer company provides an accommodation in form of a guest house. The company pays 3 lakh rupees per month. Okay, this is accommodation. So for that particular accommodation, the valuation we will have to do with respect to this particular guest house. Guest house basically is like what should I say, hotel. Okay, so for that 24% the valuation rule will be applicable. 24% of the salary, taxable monetary salary. Okay, so salary figure you already know. That is your basic, education, entertainment, taxable portion you already know. Multiply with 24% and you will get that particular valuation of the perquisite for the period of 5 months. So that is a pure calculator work. You can add it up. Okay. Then entertainment allowance is used for the official purpose. So that doesn't matter. Entertainment allowance is fully taxable. Okay. And no question of any exemption therefrom, whether entirely for official, because it is allowance. Okay, so since the fixed allowance is given, it is fully taxable. It is not that expenditure, corporate expenditure, and it is but for the fully official purpose and thereafter you are getting a reimbursement. It is not like that. It is a fixed allowance. So fixed allowance is always taxable. The car is used for personal purpose, only on few occasions. So that particular some 3% and all that is given. This is basically only the valuation perquisite of the car. So that valuation we have already done it. So these things will not matter. Basically it is a mixed use for personal and that particular. So accordingly valuation we have done. Salaries paid on the last day of each month. We have already considered this point. The main major focus of that particular already. Salary for the month of October is deposited by the employer in the bank account in Argentina. Now see, October 1 salary, we have already said that it is taxable in India because you have already provided your services inside India. So because you have rendered your services inside India, it is taxable in India. It is also deemed to accrue or arise in India. So you have received it outside India, that doesn't matter, but it is accrued, deemed to accrue or arise in India, and therefore it will be chargeable to tax in India. Salary for the remaining month is paid in India. So anyway, services are anyway rendered in India, so it is taxable in India. These points are basically with respect to the receipt of the salary, doesn't matter. The conversion rate into Indian currency, etc., has been given as adopted by the SBI on the respective dates and respective conversion rate that we have already considered. And now we can just secure a totaling work and update your answer fully. Now come to this particular question. In this question, you have to just indicate whether it is taxable or whether it is exempt. Question number 1. X non-resident foreign citizen comes to India for the first time on April 10 for a visit of 100 days for connection with shooting of cinematography, paid a remuneration of 1,40,000. None of the shareholders is a citizen in India or resident in India. Now here, first of all, you have to separate two things. First is the company, okay, or the entity which is doing this particular shooting of cinematography of films. Okay, so A Limited is doing shooting of cinematography of films, and now under section 9 it is already said that A Limited's activity, no income will be deemed to accrue or arise in India because it is doing only the activity of shooting of cinematography of films in India. So that is very much clear. But here the question is with respect to as a non-resident foreign citizen. See, he is rendering his services in India for 100 days. No, he has worked in India for 100 days. So naturally, because he has worked in India, we would like to conclude that he has rendered the services in India, so it will be deemed to accrue or arise in India. Have you understood that? So our first feeling that will go here, see our section 9, okay, that salary, if it is earned in India, it is deemed to accrue or arise in India. Earned in India means services rendered in India. So you have earned in India, so it is deemed to accrue or arise in India, and it is taxable in India. Okay. However, if you see in our question, he is an employee of a company and this particular company is not doing any commercial activity in India. It is doing only shooting of cinematography films in India. So for that reason, there is a special exemption which is provided under the law. See, there is a special exemption which is provided. This clause number 6. Okay. It says that where you are an employee of a foreign enterprise, this employee has to be a non-citizen, because this section 6 exemption is only for non-citizen. Okay, so employee of a foreign enterprise, you will get the benefit of the exemption if the foreign enterprise is not engaged in any trade or a business in India. Second point, his stay in India does not exceed period of 90 days. But now this point is going to become a very catchy point, because he has actually stayed in India for 100 days. See, he has actually stayed in India for how much? 100 days. Okay, so he is crossing that particular limit of 90 days. So this condition is not satisfied. This condition is not satisfied. Okay, and such remuneration is not liable to be deducted from the income chargeable to tax in India. That means this remuneration of the gentleman is not to be deducted against any taxable income in India of any person. So that is probably satisfied, because shooting of cinematography films is only an activity you are doing. It's not an income generating thing in India. It is only some activity that you are doing, and in fact it is an incentive given by the government that when you will shoot the films on Indian locations, and in these international films will give a boost to our tourism industry, and that will be the reason it is no income out of such activities deemed to accrue or rise in India. It's an incentive kind of a provision. It is practical also, that because this is only activity of shooting, but it is subjected to condition under section 9, but that is with respect to A Limited. And now for this particular employee, because it is 100 days, his salary will become taxable in India. So instead of 100 days, supposing it would have been 80 days, no, then my answer will change. So because it is 100 days, this salary will become taxable in India, because it is by default, it is always deemed to accrue or rise in India, but that in certain situations stay less than 90 days, then that relaxation is given. Now that similar relaxation is also there even for these people, but I just bring to your notice, not connected with the question, but I bring to your notice. Salaries received, but don't forget, all this discussion is with respect to non-citizens only. This is all because entire section 10.6 is with respect to non-citizens. Now, a salary received by such individual being non-resident, so you should be non-citizen, non-resident also now. Remuneration in connection with his employment on a foreign ship. So if you are employed on a foreign ship, so logically you are non-resident, you are non-citizen also, where his stay in India does not exceed aggregate period of 90 days. That means, the ships also, they come and go, no? So for few days, those crew members of foreign ships will stay in India, because for those few days the ship will be inside India. So the doubt will come that will that many few days of salary be taxable in India, because that many days though you were rendered your services in India. So for this marginal type situations, this 90 days limit has been kept, that if your stay in India is not exceeding 90 days, then your salary will be fully eligible for the purpose of exemption. But here the condition is that you should be a non-resident also, and you should be non-citizen also. Then you get this particular benefit in the international taxation. Okay. Now, so this is done, this is taxable. Now, point number 2. Supposing A Limited is an Indian company, of course it will be taxable. Because if it is an A Limited, so then see, even this condition will get defeated. For example, I'll tell you, it will get defeated. For an example, this point number C also will get defeated. Remuneration is not liable to deduct out of income employed chargeable under the Act. Now, A Limited becomes Indian company, then the entire income will be taxable in India, because Indian company is always resident in India. So income minus expense, so entire movie income also will be somehow or the other taxable in India, and against that expenditure also will claim. So this remuneration also will claim it as an expenditure. So it says that this remuneration is not liable to be deducted. So this condition will get deducted. Indian company is employing someone, so naturally this this expenditure will become deduction against the taxable income in India. So this condition will also get defeated. Okay, so in any case the salary will become taxable. Okay, now the point number 3. Why is a foreign citizen of a trade representative of a Russian government? Okay, so he is basically an employee of a foreign government. He is inside India. Okay, and during the previous year, foreign government pays him 9,60,000. Okay, 9,60,000. Now, normally this 9,60,000 is for the services inside India. Normally. Okay, see, normally, first you think normally, and thereafter we will go to the specific provision. Okay, any salaries earned in India if the services is rendered in India. So, if the remuneration is for the services inside India, then of course the income should be chargeable to tax in India. Is that absolutely clear? Okay, but now there is a special benefit which has been provided to this kind of situation. So, it is that way deemed to occur or arise in India, no doubt about that. Okay. But now this subclause 2 comes into picture, that such remuneration received by him in the official capacity by whatever name called of an embassy, high commission, consulate, etc. Okay, member of staff of any of these official in such capacity. Okay, so remuneration you are received in official capacity, okay, from embassy, high commission, legislation, consulate, etc. of a foreign state. That means this is a salary that you are getting it from the foreign state. Okay, this will be eligible for the purpose of exemption if you are not a citizen of India, because this section 6 is only for non-citizens. So foreign government paying the salary to their staff in India, in their Indian embassy. So, and that too you should be non-citizen. That means, for example, Russian government will pay to some of the Russians the salary for their services inside India. This will be exempt. This will be fully exempt. Okay, but this exemption is subjected to a condition. It is subjected to a condition that Indian government is giving you this exemption. No. So similar exemption, even that government in that country should give. Similar exemption. So you think about in Russia, for example, those Indian citizens working in Russia, and Indian government is paying them the remuneration. Is that absolutely clear? So, in this particular question, you see, so the foreign government is paying him, and normally services are inside India only, but it is exempt under section 10(6). Okay, but this exemption is subjected to the condition that a similar exemption which we are giving to foreign citizens, that country's government should also give to our Indian people. Then this particular benefit will be available. But anyway, here we just have to indicate taxable or exempt. So we will say that in this particular situation it will be exempt. Okay. Then point number 4. Z is a foreign citizen, comes to India for the first time on this to join Delhi University. Now he is joining Delhi University, so naturally that he is going to render his services in India. Okay, and he is a professor in finance, so straight away services rendered in India, so income accrued in India, so it will be taxable in India. Contract for services is approved by the government, doesn't matter now whether approved, not approved, hardly matters in this particular situation because you are providing the services in India. During the previous years, been paid 4 lakhs as a remuneration. Will that be taxable in India? Yes, it will be taxable in India. There is no doubt about that. Now come to this particular question. Ms. X, a chartered accountant presently working in the firm in India. She has received an offer of the post of CFO in Singapore. Now, she should join the company anytime between 1st September to 31st of October. She approaches you to advise her on this date on which she should leave India to join the company. See, she should leave, okay, so that she becomes non-resident. Okay, the number of days stay, the test, okay, because she is going to leave India and she is going to leave as an Indian citizen. She is a chartered accountant presently working. As such, question is not printed, but looking at the situation, it appears that she is a person of Indian origin also and she is a citizen of India. So when she is leaving the country for the first time, okay, then instead of 60 days test, okay, during the previous year, and 4 years preceding the previous year, 365 days. Instead of 60 days, 102 days test will be substituted. Okay, and that 120 days test here also could be thought of because she is a citizen and person of Indian origin. However, that Indian income data and all that is not there in the question, so that 120 days test I am ignoring. Okay, so 182 days stay. Okay, so if she stays in India for 182 days, listen very carefully. If she stays in India for 182 days, then she will become resident. So she should stay in India logically 181 days. Listen very carefully. She should stay in India only for 181 days. Okay, now 181 or less, stay inside. Okay, like this. Now she has received an offer. As per the offer letter, she can join anytime between September to October. So April, May, June, July, August. Okay, so April is 30, 31, 30, 31, 31. Okay, so this many days she is already inside India. Okay, and balance number of days so that the total becomes 181. Okay, so this is how much? 153 days. Okay, so balance is how much? In the given situation, the balance is 28 days. Okay, so by September 28th, she should take the departure. By September 28th, she should take the departure. If supposing she leaves on 29th of September, then it will become 182 days and then she will become a resident. Okay, so latest by 28th of September. Okay, that is the date which is already decided. Now, direct credit a part of the salary to her bank account in Kolkata maintained by jointly with the mother. Okay, this particular thing you should not do that. Because if you credit your salary in your Indian account, then it will become amount received in India and it will become taxable in India. So this is a credit entry in your Indian bank account should not be done. Now you are moving to Singapore, then what you should do is in Singapore only you should open an account. So whatever salary you get from Singapore, you should credit that salary in your Singapore bank account. That should be the best thing in the international taxation. You don't ask your employer to pay the money in the Indian bank account. Okay. Point number 3, period for which she should stay in India when she comes on a leave. Now, when she comes on a leave, okay, overall number of days stay in India, she should maintain this 181 days restriction. Okay, so supposing if she is going on the last day, 28th of September only she is going, that means she has used her full ammunition. That means now she cannot come back during the year, in order that she wants to become non-resident. So if I assume that she is living on 28th of September, she left the country on 20th of September, and thereafter she has no number of days left to come back to India. At least till the year end. Next year is a fresh calculation. So till the year end, she should not come if she has already taken the departure 28. Now supposing if instead of 28, if she has taken the departure on 27, okay, or 26, so whatever extra days you have, only that many days she can come to India, so that the total sum over the other should become 181. Together with that, you should write a note saying that day of entry, day of exit will also be counted as a full day in India. So you keep that in mind while doing this particular calculation. If you are doing entry and exit after this particular date, then date of entry and date of exit should also be calculated as a day of number of days stay in India. That should also be taken into account, that particular concept. Okay, so final answer, assuming that she left on 28th September, she doesn't have any days left, so she cannot visit back to India during the previous year if she wants a non-resident status.